It is nice to meet you, Devi.
Very nice to meet you.
Welcome to the conference. How has it been thus far?
Thank you. It's been great. I'm only a few hours in, but I'm already really just excited about seeing people, hearing the latest science, talking to community. So it's been great.
Well, thank you for making the time, because I know you're busy. This might be a very broad, big question. And I think it's important to try and talk about this in the most plain people talk as possible for our audience. Why is curing HIV so complex?
So that is a great question. And let me just start by saying that it is very complicated, and we at Gilead, and along with our partners, are totally committed to trying to get there as soon as possible. It is aspirational, but we think it's part of the way that we're going to get to end the epidemic. So no matter how challenging it is and how many roadblocks there are along the way, we're going full speed ahead. So the reason that it's so complicated is because this virus, it's a retrovirus. Once it infects a person and gets into their cells, their T cells, it integrates into the person's DNA. So it becomes a part of
So it's part of my DNA now.
Yes,
It's become part of me.
Yes, it goes right in. And then once somebody starts antiretroviral therapy, that reservoir that's formed by that virus that establishes itself is pretty much there for life. And it can be quiescent or kind of just latent while people are on their antiretrovirals, but they have to take them for life. And as soon as somebody stops taking those medications, the virus comes roaring back and is detectable in the blood. So, and while it's in that kind of latent or dormant phase, it's pretty much invisible to traditional antiretrovirals and to the immune system. And so that's what makes it really hard to target and clear out that reservoir.
Okay, so what is Gilead's approach then to cure research?
So we've been working on cure for more than 15 years now, along with multiple partners from different sectors. And the way that we are approaching it, just to kind of simplify a very complicated concept.
Please. Can I just say, as someone living with HIV, right,
Yeah.
I want to know all of this stuff, but I sit with my doctor and it comes at me in such technical jargon that I zone out, and I feel like I'm being irresponsible as a person living with HIV, because I feel like I should know this, I should educate myself, but it becomes, because it's complicated stuff. Yeah. So I appreciate you doing it as simply as you can.
Absolutely. And I think, honestly, it's the responsibility of all of us, people living with HIV, people who are working on interventions, people who are trying to bring medications to the right places. All of us need to try to understand the basics of it, but it's not straightforward. Right. So what we're trying to do, our simple framework really is, so we talked about the reservoir. So targeting that reservoir, reducing it, trying to clear out as much of it as possible. And then I'll get into some specifics. So clear and control. That's our kind of like little mnemonic or kind of framework. So clearing the reservoir, and then whatever's kind of left over, because we may not be able to get it all in one go, trying to control the rest of it, harnessing the immune system. So we have different agents in our pipeline that kind of fit into those two different categories, things like monoclonal antibodies, and then therapeutic vaccines. Those are one example for each of those two categories. And the key is, how do we combine those things safely, number one, and effectively? How do we measure success as we're developing these agents in a responsible way in clinical trials? Okay,
so then what's on the horizon as far as an HIV cure research, and how do we get to that next milestone?
Sure. So what's on the horizon is basically getting to bringing some of our partnerships to fruition and getting clinical results. And at the same time, our colleagues in the lab and our collaborators in the lab who are working with cell culture models and non-human primate models, animal models, are working on kind of the next generation of agents. So we have clinical stage assets, and then we have things coming along in the preclinical. And we're making each year, each month, we're making incremental progress, and we learn a little bit each time we run a trial or an experiment in an animal model. And then hopefully we learn along the way and get to that final solution. But it's going to be something that takes a lot of will from people around the globe and patience.
Right. What does a world without HIV look like?
I mean, that's an amazing world, right? It's something that we would all love to see happen in our lifetimes. And for us, the way that we think about it is, a world without HIV is one in which people don't have to take lifelong medications anymore. There's freedom from stigma that some people may face, and really just freedom in general. I think that's the word that comes to mind when I think about a world without HIVs. Giving people options and eventually giving people freedom.
I think giving people hope
Yeah.
is really important too for those of us living with HIV.
Absolutely.
Are you hopeful?
I'm very hopeful. I'm absolutely hopeful. And I think when I come to congresses like this and I see that it's not just us working on this, but people all around the world, again, from lots of different sectors, and there's this sense of mission and passion for this, for finding an HIV cure, that gives me an immense amount of hope.
Devi, thank you for your time. This has been great.
Thank you so much.